Hey guys, here's Wursti, and this is our game against Looking for Augur. So we got this invade here. The invade was somewhat fine because it seems you communicated it well and all lanes were somewhat pressuring and could zone away the opponents. It was also like somewhat cheesy that Citrani did a red buff into blue buff directly, so I think I'm actually fine with this invade in general. It's also very dependent on the matchups you're playing. Like if you can 1-1 their jungler, if our bot lane is stronger. So I think these both compositions were rather equal. So it was risky but fine, I guess. Yeah, that was a very close situation and our bot lane wrecked it fast. Not quite sure if Casio zoned him, so that's basically enough, otherwise she might lose too much. But I'm not quite sure if she knew you were invading so deep and have a full team fight there. I'm not quite sure if Casio could have rotated earlier if she knew you would go all in there. So yeah, risky, but since every lane pushed and had the pressure and the compositions were roughly equally strong, I think this invade was fine. Here we'll see another invade, and this is one of the invades I don't really like this much. Firstly, you have absolutely no vision of the opponent's jungler, so doing a lance engage or invade into an area you don't really have any vision or control of is kinda risky, because obviously the spells are on cooldown, and our mid laner was somewhat pushed in. The top lane was kinda even, so the impact wasn't that big, I'd say. But yeah, you at least, if you want to invade the Raptors, you need your mid laner to come with you, or to at least be able to cover you. And Cassiopeia doesn't really have the free time to rotate towards you, and you even go deeper. Right? Our Cassiopeia is under the turret, their mid lane can rotate, suddenly you're 1 versus 2. This is very bad. Against better opponents, you could even die there. You were lucky that they both had no mana. Cassiopeia started pushing lane, she doesn't even react, you know, it's like, oh wait, you're still trying to invade, why aren't you disengaging? So you two are not playing together at all. Because, yeah, well, you have different opinions about how to play the game in general, about the level of aggression you should display, but in this case I would say the Cassio was the limiting factor. She couldn't rotate, she couldn't really help you. So just disengage and don't engage with your flag and drag into that. It worked out well, but that's usually not a good argument, because the opponents weren't that great. Here we start invading the jungle to zone them away from the bot turret, which was fine. The zone TP was actually, well, it seemed a bit risky, but since we got the Morgana right next to it, I think it was great to zone them away. We get the turret, so that's nice. Here we see a great black shield by Morgana, so really neutralizing their engage completely. We fight them backwards perfectly. Everyone gets out, we get a free turret. That was nice. Here comes this questionable engage. When Jarvan called, yeah, maybe we can catch here someone. What you have to consider in this situation, like the opponents just lost this turret. They were completely prepared to teamfight here, but they couldn't engage really, or we just disengaged too well. And what are these guys now doing? Will they keep staying bot and push to this turret? Kinda unlikely. What about mid lane? Our Cassiopeia is auto-attacking the turret. So it's actually not that unlikely that they just say, okay, what are we doing bot lane? The opponents seem to rotate towards mid lane, so why are we not rotating towards mid lane too? So you kinda have to expect them to just rotate as a team towards the mid lane. So disengage without proper vision was too ballsy. I mean, they even engage on like the 2 tanks of them, and since you have 3 tanks, it's very unlikely you're able to burst more. So this was like one of the situations where we already had a 4k goal lead. We could have just probably taken this mid turret for free, or even rotated to the Herald and just do Herald while they were trying to defend mid lane. And here it could have been worse, good disengage here, but we lose 2 members and now they get the Herald. This was like a minor throw, not enough to get the opponents back into the big game, but kinda annoying. We could have snowballed here pretty hard. So don't engage without vision if you don't need to. Just take the free gold. And turrets and Herald more important than kills, obviously. So this was the situation when the opponents had Herald and we did a 1-3-1. In general, if the opponents get Herald, you wanna do this 1-3-1. The main reason is that you have 3 people around mid lane, and no matter on which lane they use the Herald, you can rotate to the lane if you want to. You don't have to, like in this case, I think they will use it bot lane at some point, and we just give them this turret, which was half HP anyway, and didn't want to give up the Baron vision. This was fine. So yeah, if the opponents have Herald, play a 1-3-1, if possible. Here we now have our split pushing Gnar, and our split pushing Cassiopeia, and our 3 guys in the mid lane. And yeah, I think you already mentioned this in the after talk, that you kinda have to ward the opponent's jungle to see if they wanna catch you. In general, you don't wanna push beyond this river if your team doesn't zone around an objective. Right here we get this mid turret. The opponents seem to give up this mid turret, so you basically can back off again and see what next objective we can get. Because if the opponents already gave up this mid turret, they will do something else. They're not defending mid lane, so they might gonna rotate to the side lanes and try to catch someone. So even Cassiopeia, I think, is a little bit exposed here, and the only reason this is okay is because our team is rotating towards top lane. So she isn't alone, she has some backup coming in. But our Gnar isn't so lucky. So just back off, wait what the opponents are doing. As soon as they show somewhere else, you can keep pressuring.
Red team's turret.
Here we know, I mean, your positioning is really aggressive here, because you even start walking alongside this wall and towards the turret, and we got the mid turret. We have no objective. Even Cassio has to retreat a little, but she has the vision, you know, that's why she can stand there and doesn't have to retreat to the river, but you don't have any vision, and yeah, so you die. And you don't really get anything out of it. If you get something out of your death, then it's fine. Here we have a similar situation where you push beyond the river. You have at least 2 wards, but they're not really seeing that much, so pushing here further is kinda risky. And again, if your team is in a position to get an objective, that's fine. Like in this case, there's no Baron, Dragon spawns in 1 minute, we are not really sieging any turret, so you're too far out. Just stay at the river, maybe try to get some vision, like you can move with your team here and get some vision here and then rotate towards top while your team zones around Dragon. Then this is great. But now it's too early to be that aggressive. Because if they rotate towards top and kill you, there's nothing you can get out of it. I mean, this is like the aftermath of this whole thing. I mean, great ultimate, you really delay these 2 opponents, and now it's like 50 seconds later, the Drake spawns in 10 seconds, so it's, since their jungler's top lane, we could get this Drake if we want to. We decide to invade into their bot jungle and dive them bot lane, get this turret, so now this is completely fine. So just wait like 20 or 30 seconds until you try to pressure the turret. Otherwise, something like the situation before might happen. So this was the Drake team fight that went rather ugly for us. One main problem is that we don't really have any vision, so our goal is to basically keep them at this choke point. They shouldn't be able to pass this choke point. I mean, we have a lot of tools. We have like the Morgana with the binding, and maybe ultimate with the Cassiopeia ultimate, we have the Jarvan ultimate, we have the Gnar megaform at some point. So if they move into this spot, we should be able to kill them. In this case, they also got the jump plant, which is kinda unfortunate because they have like an alternate route around this choke point. That the Galio was moving there wasn't really important at this point. They keep hitting the dragon, and now they can just freely walk into this area, and this just shouldn't happen. I mean, if we have Kalista, she can smite the Drake, so even Jarvan could just stand here in zone and use his ultimate if the opponents try to move in. If we get them into the Jarvan ultimate, then we can have a Morgana ultimate on these two, or Cassio free damage. Nar probably can proc his Mega Form until the Jarvan ultimate is gone. So, like I said, the Scalia wasn't really important. We have either the Smite or we have the Kalista execute. And now it's like a good disaster. We're completely uncoordinated, no one really knows what to do. Black Shield on the Cassiopeia wasn't really necessary because the only opponent she can damage is like the Galio and not the 2 damage dealers. Our Kalista is completely out of position here. The only thing she could have done is probably flash the Sejuani ultimate, but I mean that's why we basically picked the Morgana, that she protects the Kalista or the Cassio, whoever gets engaged on. And yeah, I think Nar misses a few things. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest thing, but the main problem was that they could just walk into the river and the Dragon Pit without us punishing them and zoning them. But it was another situation where we just lost a little bit of tempo, even though we're 5k gold ahead. We catch the Chase and the Sejuani here. Nar tried a backstep teleport or something. I'm not a really great fan of this teleport because yeah, maybe he delayed the opponents, but now he is without his Mega Form in 3 opponents, so just disengage, run away and then regroup with your team. Not sure why you were trying to do a 1 versus 3 play here, and yeah, you nearly killed Tristana, but just delays us. We could have just done Baron here. Like 2 opponents dead, we are 3 versus we are 5 versus 3, and then our Jarvan obviously tries to engage 2, and yeah, we took this down, and it's just a whole mess. You don't really have to do these chaotic fights. Yeah, this Baron was kinda painful, maybe a bit unlucky, maybe just misestimating the Kalista damage. I mean, we are 7k gold ahead, so if we get this Baron, it's game over right at this minute. So, yeah. The reason, well, because they stole it, that was the reason they managed to survive another 10 minutes. But yeah, not much to say on that. This Cassiopeia positioning is a bit similar to what Nar was doing sometimes in the game. There's this great synchronize the waves scheme that like all 3 lanes should have the same position at of the minion wave. Like if Cassiopeia can hit the turret, then Nar should be able to hit a turret or be at the position where the turret would be, and mid lane should be in the position to get the turret, like synchronize the position of the waves, and our mid lane just wasn't ready yet. So we still need to clear this wave and then push towards this turret. So Cassiopeia was a bit too far forward here and got engaged on the 2 people. Yeah, she was ahead enough to survive that and outplay them fancily. Just in general, a bit too far forward. Pushed a bit too fast. Just wait until our mid people are in position to damage the turret.